So I'm Diana, I'm from the University of Washington, and I've worked with Actigraphy a good bit. And so I'll just give you a little introduction to what it is, what the devices look like, what they do. Let me pull out the stuff here.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
Which company is this from?
This is from Mini-Mitter.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And it's actually, if you've ever worked with Mini-Mitter before, this is a new device. And they're actually owned by Philips now. They got bought by Respironics, then by Philips. So this device is the Actigraph. Actigraph is the generic term. Any device of this sort that measures activity is called an Actigraph. This device, this brand is called the ActiWatch. So there's the ActiWatch 2. What it measures is movement. It's used to assess sleep. It doesn't actually measure sleep, it measures behavior, it measures movement. So its convention is to place it on the non-dominant wrist. That's good for, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference where data are concerned, but that's for consistency within individuals. They need to keep it on the same wrist, and within a study, you decide on the wrist, and I imagine it's going to be non-dominant for this. So it goes on the wrist, and even for someone with a little wrist like mine, it does okay. So it's got a pretty good range of size there. These new devices are nice. The one thing I've had people complain about with the ActiWatch is irritation from the metal. And this one, it just really, you don't even have that much contact. So if anyone complains about the actual device itself, that's probably what you'll find them complain about. It should be snug. You know, it should fit. Because it's measuring movement, if the watch is moving around on the wrist, then it's not getting the person's movement. So we put that on the wrist, and when they sleep, the reason we use this to assess sleep is because when you're sleeping, you're inactive, and we find that that corresponds actually very well to lab measurements of sleep. So when you're getting the brain waves, that actually is measuring sleep. Sleep is a brain activity primarily. The Actigraph actually, activity levels correspond nicely to what we see from brain waves in the lab, but you can do it at home. You don't have to bring people into a lab. They sleep in their own bed. They wear this. Two other features of the ActiWatch device to know about. There's a button on the side. That's an event marker. All that does is when we download the data, it marks a time. So we tell them when they turn the lights out to go to sleep, press the button. When they get out of bed in the morning, press the button. If they take the device off for any reason, press the button so we know. The one thing you might run into people being confused about is sometimes they think this is an on-off button, and people will say, I forgot to turn it on when I went to bed last night, and I like to actually tell them at the beginning of the study, when I give them this device, this isn't an on-off button, don't worry about it. The other feature is a light sensor, this feature on the front, and so that measures the levels of ambient light. And it's very sensitive, so it can tell the difference between lights out, indoor light, outdoor light. So even in low levels of light, it will register as lights on, as opposed to no light at all. The important thing to remember with having a light sensor, depending on the protocol, how the protocols end up working out for certain, if you're relying on a light sensor for knowing when people turned out the lights to go to sleep, the device has to be outside of clothing. Because if it's under clothing, it's not going to be registering light, and you can't tell when they turned out the lights. Now, during the day, that may or may not be an issue, but because we're not interested in how much daylight people were exposed to. That's another way this can be used. But especially around bedtime, you want to be sure that we can get that light data, because it really, really helps in telling when people turn out the lights. This is the dock. This device, it has plugs into the computer. It's a USB cable. the Actigraph sits on this, and that it's a little awkward. You have to snap it in. There we go. Device sits on it. This charges it, and it's also how you interface with the computer. So the device, you have to actually use software to tell it when to start recording, and then when you get it back to download it. And this dock charges the device. It's a rechargeable battery. You can also, they'll come with a little plug. You can plug the USB cable into that and plug it into the wall also. This is one of the things that you might expect from the protocol if this, the protocols we have to develop are that because these are recharged, they can take, if they're run down all the way, they can take up to 6 hours to recharge. So if you have participants coming in back to back, you really have to have a lab protocol for recharging these while they're in the lab. And so that's something that you'll have to be on the lookout for in the protocols, that we might actually have a standard for each watch gets rotated through the charger, say once a week. And that way you make sure that all the watches are charged up enough. But the software also tells you how many days you have left on the battery, which is really cool. So if the software is saying this isn't fully charged, but it can measure 25 days and all you need is 7, then you're fine. One last thing is these are waterproof, which is excellent. The older ones were water resistant. These, you cannot open these. The older Actigraphs, you actually replaced the battery. You took out some screws and replaced the battery. These batteries cannot get replaced. So, because it is rechargeable, so you don't have to worry about it getting wet. The band, I'll pass a couple of these around so you can take a look at these. The band is plastic, so it's less, I used to tell my participants to take off the Actigraph when they bathe because it had a cloth band and that was just kind of gross to wear. They're plastic, they don't cause irritation if you get them wet. And the last thing is that people will ask if they can take the Actigraph off during the day. That's another question I've had come up a lot. Have any of you guys used Actigraphs in studies before? Some have, some haven't. Okay. People say, well, you're just measuring sleep. Do I have to wear it all day? I tend to like them to wear it all day. For one thing, they tend to forget to put it on in the evening. That's a real big problem. And also, if they put it on too close to bedtime, it's hard to tell. You might miss sleep if they're lounging in bed and they doze and then they wake up and they put it on. It can just cause some methods problems. So I like to have them wear it all day. You can also do 24-hour analyses that it just gives you the option to compare entire days of sleep and wake to entire other days. I don't know that, but they're going to want to do that in this study. But
you can, with the new version of the software, you can detect naps during the day.
Right.
And I think that naps might be of equal importance in relation in looking at sleep outcomes for these studies.
Yeah, exactly. That's another one for napping. So it's good to just do some education and reinforce. We actually do need that daytime data. It helps us know what's going on with you as far as being active and resting. You know, just reinforce that with them. So let me look at my list and see. I think that those are all the points I had to share with you. Did you have any questions for me about it? Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward device. We'll have the protocols for how you connect it to the computer and initialize it, program it. It's really very straightforward. And then the analysis, we'll have people analyzing the data, so you don't have to worry about that. You just have to collect and manage, just saving it to the computer. Okay. Thanks.